Hello, welcome back, guys. This is your host, Dr. Jennifer Shaw. So excited to dive into the podcast episode for today. I have an amazing guest, Dora Gosselin, and she's coming to us from Puerto Vallarta. We met on this fun app called Clubhouse. If you guys aren't on Clubhouse, it is a audio app only. Nothing's recorded. It's like raw, honest, amazing conversations. We were in an incredible conversation a couple weeks ago. We connected from there to Instagram, got on a call. I went over and joined Dora on her podcast, Sobriety, and now she's coming over to share her knowledge and wisdom with you guys. I'm so excited. So let me tell you a little bit about Dora. Dora had decided after 30 years of drinking and drugging that she was ready to walk away from her lifetime habits and is now living a clean and sober life. She's raising awareness around alcoholism, addiction, and abuse, speaking openly and honestly about these issues that affect many families around the world. She's recovering and doing it out loud so others don't have to suffer alone and in silence. As I mentioned, she's the host of the podcast Sobriety, where she invites guests and listeners from around the world to join her in sharing the passion for recovery, letting you know that you are not alone. And you guys know this is a topic important to me. It's something I've shared very openly. June 11th is my sobriety date. So June 11th, 2021 is 2 years sober for me, no alcohol. And really, it has been the most incredible 2 years of my life. I wouldn't have it any other way. I had intended to stop drinking for 6 months. And at the end of 6 months, I just was like, wow, no, I'm good. And I can honestly say I will never drink again. It's not something that excites me or even intrigues me at all in the slightest anymore. And it's just a powerful thing to know that about myself. But I do try to focus on just what I'm doing today to keep myself healthy and happy. And I know Dora does the exact same thing. And I am so excited to dive into this conversation with you, Dora. Welcome to the podcast.
Woo! Hello, beautiful peeps. And thank you, Jennifer, for that beautiful intro. I'm really excited to be here and to be sharing in your show with your listeners and the best way we can serve them possible. So really happy to be here.
I love it. Yes. So I would love for you to share a little bit about this journey of like that day you woke up and just decided enough was enough. And you were like, I'm changing my life today. Will you share with us a little bit about that?
I sure will. Well, first of all, Jennifer, it's never that easy that you just decide. I think before the fateful day of my last drink, I had many clues along the way. You know, I was starting to think for many years that there might be a problem, but I was just ignoring them. You know, I was just trying to change my form of drinking by mixing in different drugs so I wouldn't black out, or changing my style of drinking, trying to control it in a different way. So the fateful day that I walked away and had my last drink, it all comes down to my drinking and drugging for 30 years. When I look back at it now, the two things that accompanied that in my life were bad relationships and very bad decisions. Those are the two things that correlate with my drinking and drugging. You know, I always ended up with people and in situations I never would if I was sober. You know, my choices and decision-making just went out the window after I picked up a couple drinks. So the day that I had my last drink, I was in a very toxic relationship with a man for 3 years, and we had been off and on. There was a lot of drinking and drugs involved, and it wasn't my kind of party. You know, I used to love to be that social butterfly and going out to meet my girlfriends and dancing and laughing and making people laugh and being funny and, you know, like out and about. But with this guy, it wasn't any of that at all. It was lockdown in the house, and it was very dark and very disgusting, very toxic. So on that last fateful night, him and I had been partying for a couple of days. We'd been arguing for about 6 hours. I gave him the ultimatum of, is he going to choose the drugs over me again? Or I was going to leave. And he told me, oh, right, you'll be back. I said, nope, this time if I leave, I am not coming back. I was trying to talk to him about our relationship and basically told me that our relationship wasn't a priority and there was nothing to work on. And I was hanging on to a false idea of what our relationship really was. In hindsight, I realized I was just a pawn in his game. But anyways, so I walked out at 2 a.m. With a carry-on suitcase and my dog, and I checked myself into a hotel. When I walked into that hotel at about 2:30 a.m., I fell on the side of the bed on my knees and I cried out loud to a God that I never spoke to for a long time and just said, God, help me stay away from this man and this relationship that is killing me. And I took a sleeping pill. I slept for about 4 hours because when I was drinking and drugging, that was about all I could get. It didn't matter if I stayed up for 4 or 5 days. I'd sleep for 4 hours and I'd wake up filled with anxiety. So I got up in the morning, I blocked this guy's phone. I'm square one. I'm walking away from my 2 homes that him and I had purchased together, which is probably also why I was trying to hang on to this relationship even longer because we were tied into real estate together. I'm in a hotel room and I decided that I was going to go closer downtown to Puerto Vallarta so I could walk around. And I grabbed my dog, I called a taxi, and I picked up a beer. And in that taxi ride, as I was drinking that beer, for the first time in my life, this thought occurred to me, maybe if I stop drinking and drugging, I will find the strength that I need to stay away from this relationship that's killing me. And, when I look back in my recovery journey, that was key. That's not my own thoughts. I'm breaking up from this relationship. I've got the clothes on my back and my dog. I mean, perfect time to start partying my ass off for a couple days, right? Like just going to oblivion, which is what I did. I escaped with my drinking to avoid my situation. Perfect time to do that. That ended up being my very last drink. I didn't pick up a drink. I went to a hotel. I called a couple friends that I knew had been in some 12-step programs. And I said, look, I've left this guy and I think I'm going to try to quit drinking to stay away from him, because I realized that a lot of the times when I went back to this guy, it was when I was drinking and my decision-making was out the window. Didn't want to be alone when I was drunk, or I was horny when I was drunk, or, you name it, just not wanting to be alone with myself. So I never went back to that guy again. And I've been sober ever since that car ride. And that's how my journey began. And that thought was right. Not drinking and not drugging gave me the strength that thought I had to stay away from that guy. I never went back to him again. So, woo, that was the start.
Congratulations.
That was the start. And, once I started my recovery journey, I realized very quickly that I have been an alcoholic and an addict for many years. This guy didn't make me an alcoholic or an addict, but that's what it took for me to wake up. And if I didn't go through all of that, I probably would have just kept on doing what I'd always done, drinking and drugging my way through life, like getting into bad situations and bad relationships over and over and over and over. So that was the wake-up call I needed, and that's how my journey began.
What an incredible strength and journey to just share that and put it out there and let people see the inside of you, just how deep it got for you, right? I think one of the things that we've discussed is that recognition of our own destructive behavior in relationships, right? And we can never look at a relationship. Okay, yes, sometimes someone is, more of the quote unquote villain in a relationship than the other. But no matter what, you play a role, right? And I love that you take ownership of your role. Like I take ownership of my role in my first marriage. Like I was completely codependent and I had learned to become a martyr, and that was like my role, and that was the hat I put on and what I did. And I came home, you know, I was sharing with you, I think we talked about this last week when we were recording your podcast, is I used to drink nice bottles of wine. And then my ex-husband would say things, because I would drink like a glass or two before he got home from work to just take the edge off. And then he would be like, oh, you drank all that wine? Like, how much are you going to drink tonight? So I started buying boxes of wine, and they had like pretty decent boxes of wine, like decent.
Right.
Like not great.
They'll do.
They're still boxes, but I would buy boxes of wine. I would buy the same brand over and over again. So he wouldn't know that I had like drank through that box. And then he couldn't tell like how many glasses I had, because then I didn't have to hear his shit about it, because mainly I was drinking the wine because of the stress that our relationship caused me and the lack of communication. And then it allowed me to avoid, and, you know, it was a horrible cycle and things that I didn't recognize till a year after I left him, because I got sober 1 year, like 2 days shy. No. Yeah. 2 days shy of a year of leaving him. And that was the day I decided to go and not drink for 6 months. Right. So it's definitely like, sometimes it's somebody saying to you, hey, maybe you should try this for 6 months. As in my case, somebody was like, just no dating, no drinking for 6 months. Like, just take care of yourself, learn to love yourself. In your case, it was this like, drop to your knees, pray for help, ask for help, and figure out like, and be with yourself enough to just hear that voice in your head. Cause I can probably guarantee that there was other times in your life where that voice popped up and then the drink went in and the voice went away. Right. It was like, that wasn't the first time that you maybe had that thought. I'm guessing. I know for me, it wasn't the first time that I had that thought. So definitely amazing when we kind of look at the decisions we make on a sober mind versus the decisions we make on an alcohol induced mind. Right. And, or even drugs, right? I had some drug dependency after my back injury, but it was, it never got as out of hand as my drinking did. Right. So we all have a different journey. We all have a different experience. Right. So how would you say, have you noticed a shift in, and this is something that comes up for me, have you noticed a shift in a positive direction of who you spend time with, who you let into your social circle, your relationships with those people most important to you? Like, what has that been like over the last 2 years of sobriety in shifting for you?
Well, that's a great question, Jennifer. In the first, excuse me, in the first, sorry, let me rephrase that. In the beginning of my recovery, I really closed out all my drinking and my party friends, because I had to be in a whole new environment. You know, if you want to change, you got to do things you've never done before. And for me, that included not hanging around and not having to explain to my friends, I'm not drinking and drugging. You know, I was doing this for myself. So in the beginning, yes, I didn't hang out with the same friends, and not that they're, you know, I'm 46 years old. It's not that it's peer pressure and we're in high school, but I did change my group of people for recovery related people. You know, I started going to 12-step meetings, and I started going to 2 or 3 of them a day. And I heard a message of hope in there. I heard other alcoholics and addicts that were once like me, and they were talking about blackouts, which I never shared with people prior to my recovery. You know, I was ashamed of those blackouts. I wasn't telling people, you know, I don't remember the last 2 nights that we were out. So that I was torturing myself on the inside. But after a couple months, I slowly started going back towards my circle of friends. But I went back in a different way. Like, I go out where a friend of mine owned a restaurant every Wednesday at a ladies' night, which meant they had an art exhibit, they had dinner, they had a DJ, and they had friends. But for the first time, I'd go there and actually eat. Whereas in my drinking and drugging, you know, I just go there already half shit-faced, and I get there and it would be all about the party and being obnoxious. And I never ate, you know, because that would ruin my drinking and my buzz. So I had to just do it a little differently. And one of the things I've learned when I'm hanging out with people that do drink or whatever, what people that still drink, is that I have to always have my own way out now. Like, you know, I have to have my own ride. I can't be dependent on somebody that's drinking to drive me, you know, half an hour down to another beach town on one of them to take me home. So very important that I have all my comforts. And that means bringing my own cooler if I'm going into a party scene with a thermos of coffee, you know, a couple iced teas, some sweets that I like, you know, and my own ride. And when I arrive to a party environment, I have my fun. I still love to dance. I still love house music. So I love to get my boogie on once in a while. But when I'm done, I'm done. You know, I don't have to tell anybody where they're begging me to stay. You know, I just get in my car and I leave and I go home. Sometimes I'm home at 9:30 at night if it's a day party, you know, and sometimes I'll dance till 4 in the morning. And when it's time to sit down, that's when I go.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, protecting my sobriety. And I always say a short little prayer before I leave anywhere, you know, that I can just be a good example of sobriety. You know, I want to go out and I still, like I said, I mingle with the people in party situations and dancing, but I'm always telling myself in that party, you know, if I had a drink now, I'd ruin everything. Like the life I have today is because I'm not drinking and drugging. You know, I don't wake up with hangovers. I don't have regret. I don't have remorse. I'm not forgetting what the guy's name is that's sleeping next to me. Like none of that happens when I'm not drinking and drugging. Like what a shock.
I know, right?
And when that stuff's not happening, well, that sure takes a lot of anxiety away, you know, when you try to fill in the blanks and try to remember what you did and who you saw and who you paid and if you paid your bill. Like all of that anxiety that takes up space in my head is gone when by not drinking and drugging. So I still love to have fun. You know, I'm realizing that I'm still pretty funny and a goofball at times. You know, I really thought that I was going to lose my personality in the beginning. You know, I thought that I was going to get clean and sober and my life would be like, what would it be? You know, I'm going to be a boring old lady knitting. Like, what is life going to look like? And that is not the case at all. You know, I still have that personality. I'm still me. I'm just getting rid of a lot of the anxiety and depression and all the crap that came with the drinking and drugging. So yeah. Life is good.
Oh, I love it. And that's something that I think is imperative. I think a lot of times people fear that they'll lose all of their life, that they will lose their friends, that their family won't love them anymore. Like, or, you know, like that everything's going to shift. They have to start all over. And in some ways you do, right? There are a group of people that I don't hang out with anymore. But there are plenty that I do. And again, like you, I always bring my cooler with beverages that I feel comfortable with so that I don't have to like feel uncomfortable there. I love drinking kombucha instead of like, you know, a glass of wine, obviously. And I do always ensure that I have a ride, which is me. I drive everywhere. And I make sure that I always have that extra strategy because it's my comfort. But I do, like you, I still have fun. I still have tons of fun. I still go away with friends for the weekend and they still drink and that's fine. And, you know, I still like, I get to live my life and I get to do it in such a way, like you said, where, God, I don't wake up with a hangover ever. And it's amazing. I've had some nightmares since I got sober, which is interesting, where in the dream, the nightmare, really, I am blackout drunk and I'm waking up, not remembering what I did the night before, not remembering like if I paid my bill, like feeling hungover in my dream. And then I'm like afraid to wake up in real life. And I'm like, did you drink that bottle of wine? Like what happened? And
that's very common.
Oh my God. It was so scary the first couple of times. I was like, don't wake up, don't wake up, don't wake up. And then I woke up and I'm like, oh, you feel great. It was so crazy.
Drinking and using dreams, that has happened to me. And that happens to a lot of people in sobriety or in sobriety, you know, having these drinking and using dreams from the past. And a lot of us that get clean and sober, we're coming out of a lifetime of those habits. So the last place it's going to hang out in is your subconscious. And that happens to me too, you know, and I wake up crying and I'm usually already in the dream thinking, oh my goodness, do I tell anybody? Do I have to reset my date? Like, I can't believe I did this. Like, it's not a fun dream of like, woo,
Not at all.
I'm in the party. It's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did this. What? Like, how am I can't believe. And then I wake up and I'll often crying and I'm telling myself, did I? Didn't I? And it makes for a pretty shitty morning, actually.
It does.
It's almost like
my boyfriend like
residue of this drinking nightmare.
Yeah, like I had the worst nightmare. But I'm glad I'm not alone in that. Yeah, and I think that's what I always want to express to people is like, it's never too late to ask for help. If you don't have someone to help you, like you now have Dora and me. Like message us. Like
yeah, you do.
Know. Just say, and I've had someone off of my podcast connect with me on Instagram, asked me a bunch of questions about getting sober. We got on a call. I supported her in helping her find some resources, and she got sober and she cleaned up her life. And she was a drinker on my scale where it was like that, like a couple drinks every night. It wasn't the crack the beer in the morning, but, and and now she's just had her first baby.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible. Like she was having trouble conceiving and all these things. And it was amazing to know that me sharing my story made that impact. And I know that you have stories like that too. And I just want you guys to know you're not alone. This doesn't have to be sad, scary, lonely, exhausting. You know, it doesn't have to be something that shoots you into depression. Like this gets to be beautiful. This gets to be fun. Like choosing yourself every single day is amazing. So I just want to thank you for normalizing this conversation because it's so important to have. And I want to definitely like continue this conversation as you move through your sobriety and I do with mine. But for now, I want to dive into those rapid fire questions if you're ready for them.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. So number one question, Dora, what is your top health and wellness tip for the listeners?
Oh, learn to love yourself and stop filling yourself with a void, people, places, and things. Love yourself first. We can do that ourselves. That's something after getting clean and sober, that I have moved into is the journey of self-love. And it's not easy. You know, I was trying to fill my life with people and things to make me happy. And along with getting clean and sober, I've realized that I can love myself the way I've been looking for a man to love me. I can respect myself. I can be extra kind to myself and extra gentle to myself. I don't have to look outside of me for that. I can decide to do that for me. So self-love, learn to love yourself. You're worth it.
I love that. That's so beautiful. I had a dear friend of mine shared just the other day with me that for the first time in his life, he is proud of himself and more proud of himself than anyone else could be. And he recognized that as much as he's been seeking that approval from others, he never got it because he didn't approve of himself. He didn't love himself. And
right.
Oh, fuck, when you can get to that point, guys. Oh,
it's
my
beautiful.
God. Yeah. And if you can't sit in quiet and just be with yourself and love yourself, like look at the things that you're using to fill that void. TV, phone, sex, relationships, drinks, drugs. Like everyone's different with what they fill that time with, but you should be able to just sit for 30 minutes on the beach with nothing and listen to your own thoughts and love yourself. Like you should be able to do that. And that's hard for a lot of people. So such a
hard.
Yeah. Thank you, Dora.
You're welcome.
Okay. So what is something in your health and wellness journey that you struggle being consistent with?
Well, this goes right along with the first question. Probably the biggest thing I struggle with is that negative self-talk, which is right along there with the growing in the self-love. You know, I've been on a mission with the self-love. I have grown leaps and bounds, but that is probably still at the same time, the thing I struggle with is those natural negative self-talk. Like, you know, I should be, I could be, I should have done better, I should know better. However, at the same time, I'm learning to nip those things in the butt, you know, and pay attention to my thoughts. And a friend a little while ago told me, I was expressing this similar conversation with him, and he said in his codependency, which I also struggle with, that he has taken the word should out of his vocabulary. And I thought, well, that is great. I'm going to try to implement that in my own life, because I should have done that. Should is, it's an unnecessary word. I could have done something better, but should means like I'm already putting this negative ruling over myself that I don't need. So I really like what he had to say, and I'm trying to implement that in my own life. Take out should altogether. We don't need that word.
It's a garbage word. Kind of like the word fine. I'm fine. It's a garbage word. Throw it away. It's a filler.
Yeah. Or normal. What the hell is normal?
I don't know.
So normal.
I don't know, because quote unquote normal nowadays to me is crazy. So I don't know what normal
and it's left to everybody's personal perception of what normal is to them. So normal is not even normal to everybody. So that's another garbage word.
Yeah, I like it. Toss them out. Okay. What are you most excited about in life right now, Dora?
I feel like I'm at a real growing point in my life, and I'm really excited about that. I've been doing the Soberoso podcast for 10 months now. It's all been self-taught, and that goes as far as, you know, the interviews, the editing, the making videos, the making pictures, the promotion, the everything. And it's been a learning curve, but I feel like I've finally got everything down pat, and I'm ready to go to the next level. And I'm, like you mentioned at the beginning of this episode here, you know, we met each other on Clubhouse. I'm really excited about the connections on Clubhouse. I think that's just a new level of learning and networking with like-minded people. I'm really excited about that. I've put many things I've learned there already into immediate action, and have seen, like, within a week, like the same day. So I think I'm at a growing point in my life, and I'm really excited about that growth.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Here's my selfish question, because I love to read. I mean, I have 4 books sitting on my desk alone right now. So what is if you had to pick one book and say it was your favorite book, do you have one that's your favorite?
Oh, okay. You know what? We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, Jennifer, and I am not a big reader, but the book that I read twice, and I would probably read again, even though I'm not a big reader, that I absolutely loved, was The Celestine Prophecies.
Oh, The Celestine Prophecies, amazing. I have it right over there.
You do?
Oh yeah, I read it.
That's one book that I've read twice, and I would read again, because it has taken me on a magical journey every time, the 2 times I've read it, and I would definitely be into reading that again.
Oh, I love it. It's such a great book. And I listened to the next 2 in the series too, but that's my favorite. It's so good. Nice. So guys, if you haven't read The Celestine Prophecy, read it. It is powerful, especially if you're on a growth path. Okay, we need to wrap it up here. So before we do that, please share with everyone where they can find you, Dora.
Wonderful. First of all, thanks again for having me, Jennifer. I love seeing you and being able to share such a message of hope with you in this way. My name is Dora. I am the grateful host of Soberoso, the podcast. You can find you can find everything you want to know about Soberoso and the passion projects we are involved in by visiting our website at www.soberoso.com. You will find us on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Soberoso. And you can find me personally on Clubhouse at Dora Gosselin. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Guys, go check out her IG for sure. Listen to her podcast, especially the episode I'm on. Just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
All of
That'll
them
be out next Tuesday.
Yeah, check it out for sure. And this has just been such a pleasure. I love our conversation. So thank you for being open, honest, raw, vulnerable, and sharing all the things, Dora.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jen.
Okay, listeners, until next time, namaste.